Thank you very much, CIPB and all the organizer for giving me an opportunity for interacting with the trainees and the people who are eager to learn about the solar photovoltaic development in the country, solar power plants, solar agri photovoltaic, and so on. The topic is really very niche and a very timely, I would say, that it needs more focused attention for further development in the area, because it has a win-win situation. It has a twin benefits to the user, uh, and plus also it also sometime takes care of the land issues, because it also helps in supporting the production of the cash crops basically. So I have tried to mix there are so many things to discuss, so many things to discuss with you, but I just thought to structure the presentation in such a way that I'll give you a little bit about overview of the Indian power sector, then some standard specification efficiencies of the solar cells, because that is also very important to understand that what is going on all over the world, and some introduction about the agri photovoltaic, their benefits, challenges, sustainable development goals, how it fits into that, and then application of solar energy into agriculture, and so on. So as we were just discussing that out of the 385, close to 385 gigawatt of the total installed capacity, the today the renewable has today the renewable is 96.95 gigawatt. So you can see the percentage. It is above 25%, and out of that 97 gigawatt. In fact, this is a little 1 month old data, and just today we have compiled data from other places, and we are proud to announce that the 100 gigawatt achievement has been made on the renewables today itself. Ministry was making a little celebration out of that, and this has been possible with the close association and contribution of all the stakeholders who are involved in the development of renewable energy in the country. So out of the close to 97 gigawatt, you can see the solar is for about 43 gigawatt, uh, and wind is 41 gigawatt, because these are the two major contributors in this. Then biopower is 10.33 gigawatt, and small hydro is close to uh, about 5 gigawatt. So this is the total database on that. And if we see the total potential, which has been studied at so many places from various resources, the total potential is more than 1000 gigawatt. Means the total energy requirement can be resolved by the total renewable power if it is harnessed, if it is the technology is developed for 24 by 7, and so on. There are many other factors. The target was set to 175 gigawatt, and in the last 8 years, the achievement I have just shown it to you. Uh, and this target is set for 2022, and we hope that it is going to be met, although the condition is like that. Uh, the 50 gigawatt is 100 gigawatt is achieved, 50 gigawatt is under installation, under implementation, and 25 gigawatt is under various stages of tendering. Tendered has somewhere it has been tendered, somewhere it is being evaluated, and so on. So there is a complete roadmap for 175 gigawatt. That is why the target has further been, you can see that the target has further been enhanced to 450 gigawatt in the coming future. This could be possible. I give all the credits to the economic development of the system and the technological development. Of course, without that, the economic development cannot come. You can see the trend of the decreasing trend of the tariff, which was seen in the last eight years, which started from 6.47 for solar, and it ended at something around 2 rupees per kilowatt hour. So at this time, does it, and the wind also about 3 rupees per kilowatt hour. So because of this economical competitiveness between the other resources from which the power is generated, this sector has really taken a place in the mainstream now. So today, I remember the days when it was very difficult to convince the people what is renewable energy, what is renewable power, what is solar power. But today, at least the renewable power is well known to everybody. Uh, and apart from the tariff trend, decreasing tariff trend, decreasing tariff trend is also reflected as per the decreasing cost of the installations. You can see there is a clear-cut comparison of the solar thermal power generation, installation cost and the power generation cost. Solar thermal from coal installation cost is something close to 5 crore per megawatt, and power generation 3.05. Hydro similarly 7 to 9 crore, power generation is 3. Nuclear is very high. Solar PV, the cost of installation is close to 3.5 crore per megawatt, and the is 5 crore per megawatt, and the generation cost is close to just a minute. हाँ चंदन जी. हाँ. ओके 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 ओके. मैं ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. मैं कर देता हूँ, मैं कर देता हूँ. हाँ, I'll do it. ठीक, ओके. Sorry, I'm very sorry. You can see the data I just put to convince that the solar power generation cost and the installation cost both have come to a very economical level. Similarly, wind and others. That is how the sector has really grown. Now, the quality issue in the sector. The sector is governed by the various standards and specifications, be it wind, be it solar, be it other sector like biomass and small hydro. So there is a structured Indian standards. A few of the standards have been adopted from IEC standards, which is an international body which makes the standards for various solar and electronic other applications. Solar PV inverters, solar battery, solar lighting systems, water pumping system, thermal test, and so on. So many standards have been developed, and they contribute in quality installations, quality assurance of the system which is being developed in the market, which is being promoted in the market. Our primary concern is that the users and the consumers should not feel cheated by getting the low quality equipment, low quality materials, so that it doesn't meet their cost and requirements. A very quick overview on the solar cell efficiencies all over the world. You know, normally we have the efficiency level which is in the market. At the field level, we get from 16 to 18% of various silicon, monosilicon, polysilicon, and others. But you can see that at the lab level, where the researchers have gone into by the NREL, by Fraunhofer, by other developing Japan countries, where you can see the maximum 4 junction or more with more concentrators, the efficiency of 47% at lab scale has been obtained. So if you translate these efficiencies into the field level efficiency, and if we really able to gain the field level efficiency up to 25 or 26%, then the further development it requires less land, it requires less cost. So everything is governed with the efficiency, and once the efficiency comes up, which is going on, the trend is that day by day the new technologies and alternative materials are coming up. And very recently, everybody must be aware about the PERC development of the mono PERC or the PERC solar cells, which has gained the efficiency of 21 to 21.5% at the field level, which is of course one of the very recent development. The agri, now I come to the point that what is the, I think since yesterday you must have been listening about this. Agri PV and agro PV, agro photovoltaic, there are many names given to this, but it is basically generating both I would call the energy and the agriculture together, food and energy together. Agro PV is a new application of solar photovoltaic plant for effective and efficient use of available space. In fact, due to the shading system and the movement of the sun, you have to leave certain space between the two rows and the two arrays basically. And those areas, if we can utilize by planting the low height plants, and even if the high plants are there, then you need the high structure. So there are many cash crops which are low, all vegetables. Most of the vegetables are the low height crops. Spices, low height, if we can get like ginger and others. So these kind of crops have been tried, and even the floriculture. Floriculture is also one of the very cash flow system. Floriculture can be done between the two row of the solar panels. It facilitates the forming and PV generation together. The PV panels are mounted at a additional height. You can have additional height. It is always better for this purpose. And it increases the spacing, proper spacing between them. But I would say that for the sake of having the agro PV, you need not to redesign your plant, because this will certainly have an effect on your impact on the cost. So in the existing, I would always recommend in the existing solar PV plant sites and systems, you can blend the agro voltaic, agro crops, small agro crops, and it can give you the land productivity, and it will certainly bring the further economical viability. So there are, you can see in the picture, there are different rows, arrays where the plants have been set up, and below that the crops, small crops have been grown. But there are certain lanes to be left for processing or the cleaning of the solar panels, and sometimes servicing of the solar panel if there is any difficulty, any fault. So this also needs to be done. It's a very important thing. You can see in this picture that you can easily grow because 3.5 to 4 acre of land is required for a single megawatt of the plant. If there is a 500 megawatt of plant, it required about 200, I think, multiplied by 4 acre. 500 by 4 acre is 2000 2000 acre of the land. And if this land out of 2000, even if the 50% of the land is utilized for this purpose, so 1000 acre of the land you can easily utilize for blending the agro crops. It increases the land productivity, reductions in the electricity and water pumping bills for farmers. Farmers benefit from increase in income while diversifying their risk, cost savings through self-consumption of electricity, improved agricultural practices, low requirement of water for irrigation because it is under the shade, and cleaning of the plant at many places also needs the water. So if that water which is used for the cleaning of the solar panels also serves the purpose of irrigating the land rows and the land below the panel where the agriculture crop has been grown. So you can see the twin benefit again of cleaning the panel as well as irrigating the crops. Increase the income while diversifying their risk. The additional benefits increase the decentralized and local electricity production. That is but there are certain challenges. It's agri PV plants, two challenges: module cleaning and weed removal. That's why I told that there has to be certain lane left for these kind of things. Agri crops needs the weed removal, and the modules need the cleaning, regular cleaning. So these things, it needs a redesigning of the system in which you can do both the systems together. Then uncontrolled vegetation disrupts sometime maintenance and causes the shadow on the PV arrays. This has to be watched regularly. If some crop is growing above the panel, it is creating a shade, then that should be thinned and pruned to avoid this shading. If there is a shade, it might invite the hot spots and energy generation loss. So we have to see that. Then complete cleaning of these unwanted vegetation incurs a higher soiling rate as well as the high manpower. So we should be careful while unwanted vegetation which incurs all over the places. It has to be well cleaned before sowing the crop nearby areas. Then dry vegetation collected leads to the higher risk of fire. You know, these are the very remote chances, but it is good to we should not after reaping the crop, we should not keep on the field. We should immediately remove from the field. Uh, Weed removal is a and then increase in the structure cost due to additional mounting. If you make a little high mounted system, then it has a little more cost. It goes with the sustainable development goals. Everybody knows that affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, sustainable consumption and production, sustainable cities, health and well-being. You know, all these goals to some extent are covered into this. So for all these things, there are many schemes of the Government of India has come up. Everybody knows about that. Out of that, one or two schemes only I will mention. There are many things, and that because that itself is a big subject to discuss over here. The Kusum scheme, which is I am touching only those areas which are little related to this agrovoltaic sector or the agriculture sector. A Kusum scheme has recently been launched in July 2019, and it has three components. 10,000 up to 10,000 megawatt of decentralized ground-mounted grid-connected solar power plant. You know, this sector component A is very much suitable for the agrovoltaic applications, in which up to 2 megawatt plants can be set up at the in the farmer's field, of course non-cultivated and barren land and so on. But if you really meet the agrovoltaic make it in a very planned way, then it can be sown in the cultivable land which is not being cultivated. You can do that. This is the up to 2 megawatt. You can straightway install the power plants. This scheme is open for the farmers, and in the first phase of this scheme, the allocations have already been made to a great extent. I think I have the data up to 5,000 megawatt. The systems have been allocated at different places. The second component of this is the installation of about 2 million solar powered agricultural pumps, which are again to be used for in the farms. The component C is the solarization of 10 lakh grid connected agricultural pumps. So now all these things are directly related to agriculture, and these all three schemes are undergoing, and there are certain benefits which are being provided to the subsidy and the other policy related benefits which are being provided to the farmers which are using that. And for about for the solar power plants which are to be installed by the farmers, the spatial feeder identification and the tariff declaration have been made by many states. Means once the farmers produce the electricity out of the solar system there, so their electricity will be purchased also in the nearby by the grid, and they will be suitably paid for that. You know, these are some financial figures which have been allocated for under this scheme. You can further see that solar energy has a huge potential for its application in agriculture, not only from the solar pumping point of view, but also from the solar drying, you know, for processing of the agricultural crops and processing of the fruits and vegetables. This is also one of the very important thing. Fencing, you know, fencing is also very important. You can have a solar power fencing, and it can be applied in various threshing, winnowing, grading, etc. at the field level. Today, you install a solar water pumping system which is of 10 kilowatt or something, and once it is during the non 7.5 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt system, during the non-use of the solar pumps, you can hours you can utilize this power for other agriculture applications also. Pumping system, I'm not going to cover much, but I would say that very recently, you can see the two photographs below. Very recently, the NICE has developed a 50 up to 50 kilowatt, up to 50 HP testing system as per the standards. This is a very recent development, and in which the 8 pumps can be tested together. So just to ensure the quality of the solar water pumping system, and once the solar water pumping system is installed at a in a farm, you can see that it can contribute towards. I would suggest that every solar park, every solar park or the large solar power plants must have the solar water pumping systems also installed, so that they can utilize the this water for the crop development, crop production, also as agri-based crop production. There is a large potential for pump sets. I think I need not to stress here, but these are the solar products which have been developed at NICE and the other places also. So one of that is this solar drying cum space heating system. This system has been, we have put up about 300 such systems in the Leh and Ladakh, in the Kargil and Leh district of Ladakh UT. About 300 system means at least we have covered more than 50 or 60 villages where we have put up all these systems. So these systems helps them in drying of their crops. The photo is showing the apricots being dried in the Leh and Ladakh region, and besides this, they also dry the vegetable and the crops, vegetables and the fruits, and they utilize it during the non-season of the crop, when there is a hard season of -degree centigrades. It is very useful, very low-cost system, and it has been adopted widely by the government and by the rural people. And during the non-drying of the crops, it is used for heating their homes, heating their. That's why we call it dryer cum space heating system. The second thing, which is the solar cold storage. This is the development of completely solar driven cold storage. We also call it a thermal battery, which has been developed inside for storing the by using the phase change material, and that material is the water in this. So it's a very simple technology in which the and it has been made out of containers, but you can use other material also to make it. So these systems have become very popular. More than 20 systems have been installed at various places: Assam, Karnataka, Kerala, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh. These systems it has been adopted by the Ministry of Agriculture, and I think they are also providing some financial support for this. And these systems are very useful for the agro crops, for intermediate transfer in the sabji mandis, in the farms. Very good for the perishable crops, which have very low shelf life. So this can be used for that. You can see the some system. I think this photograph is from Tripura, where the jackfruits are being stored in this. Now, especially the vertical solar installed bifacial PV modules. You know, now the era is going to come for the bifacial PV modules also, and there are few manufacturers, they have started manufacturing it. So you can see in between the two rows there is a good space, and that space certainly can be utilized because they do not intervene in the shades and other things. So this is a very useful development. That is why the solar agri PV with the vertical system should be ready for installed. In the NICE, we have taken, you know, this is the installation in NICE where we are studying the installation of solar PV bifacial system and how it compares with the other normal system. After that, some guidelines would be developed, and there are many things which have many companies which are producing it. Then it becomes very useful. We have taken a pilot study which will evaluate the performance of the bifacial PV modules. It will study the impact of albedo effect, environment, and the installation conditions on bifacial gains. The guidelines for its installation based on the experimental results, the simulation or the bifacial module gain different locations in India. So we will, after a 6 months time, I think NICE would be in a position to bring out a complete study and report and give a complete guidelines for its installation along with the agro PV is being installed in the bifacial PV systems. Very recently we have installed it. It is operational since June, last 2 months back only. Prior to installation, all modules were measured under STC and NICE state-of-the-art testing and the characterization lab. So we have noted that before that, what was their condition and how they behave in installation. We have installed about 3 types of systems in it, and their simulation study is going on, and we feel that within a 6 months time we'll come out with a detailed report in their simulation study and of the bifacial modules. And I'm emphasizing bifacial module because it is going to be very useful for the agro photovoltaic system. It needs certain some framework also. If you have to achieve the energy policy goals, number of ground mounted PV system is constantly increasing. The policy for agrivoltaic is also required. So far it is just a very voluntary in nature. It's a very, if you want to do, you can do. If you don't want to do, you cannot do. Only thing is that before making any policy, all aspects of this has to be studied, and the economic viability has to be projected before the developers so that they come forward and install it. To make it compulsory is not, this is not the stage, or this is not the right way also to doing that. But if they are convinced by themselves in its economical viability, then you can imagine that how much employment generation it can make. A single photovoltaic plant can make how much employment, how much production of this system. So you take the economics of this system and make, and if you add it into the solar PV generation, it will again add to the cost reduction of the solar power generation in the system. Very few things are required. It's not a very big deal to understand the solar PV, because in our country, one of the best things is that everybody has a little or the knowledge of the agriculture, because we all come from the agriculture background. If not this generation, then the previous generation has come. So it's not a big deal. Social acceptance with a focus on land use competition. To make the optimum utilization of the land, we must keep in mind, and we should utilize that. Necessary adjustments in the legislation. Legislation, although I mentioned, but I don't find that the legislation, we need a certain legislation or rules or something like that. It's always voluntarily. If you want to do, you can do this. Relevant work for greenhouse photovoltaics. Selection of crops. This is one of the very important thing. You should select a crop which is seasonal, which is from the local place, and it has a less height, it has a less irrigation need, it doesn't shade the sheltering, it doesn't shade the module, and it also develops in the shade of the module. So both the things are important. Then farmers' agricultural know-how, which is already available. Marketing opportunities. I will prefer only the cash crops to be opened there, which can be directly sold to the market without much processing. So investment requirement is as usual as in other agricultural operations. Then some economics to be worked out, and then it has to be taken. So we can see that the agrovoltaic is a promising way to use it. It can, to some extent, resolve the land use conflict between the energy and the agricultural production. It helps in that. the policy framework we need. The bifacial technology can play an important role, which is going to come very soon. Few manufacturers have started it also in India. The present pilot study at NICE can be useful by providing the roadmap and a complete data for that. We have a huge potential of the solar PV pumping system, and in an integrated way the water pumping and the water pumping and the solar PV system should be utilized. The vertical bifacial PV, yeah, so I think I have already done that. So with this, I conclude my talk, and I would be happy to interact with you for next 5 minutes, if you permit. Thank you so much.